All right, let's talk about the state of sports. I have been waiting I want to see my Philadelphia Phillies play again. I want to be able to watch some NBA basketball. I want to be able to watch some Saturday, Sunday golf, but we haven't been able to do any of that. All we got was that rained out Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. It was a disaster. It was fun, but it reminded me, oh my gosh, how much we need sports. So I wanted to invite on a longtime friend, great friend, former co-anchor together for many, many years, one of the keenest, sharpest minds in all of sports. Anytime I had to do a sports segment on our show, I said, Dave, what do I talk to this guy about? He's a Heisman Trophy winner. What did he do? And he'd give me bullet point by bullet point by bullet point what to ask him. So I wanted to welcome Dave here on the show. Dave Briggs, my longtime friend and co-anchor. Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy. Very good to see you. Yeah, it's been a while since we have anchored a television show of any kind. How long? 10 plus years, 12 years maybe.
Has it been 10 years? Holy smokes.
Wait, when did I leave? No, it's been about 7 years, I guess it would have been. Yep,
7 years.
Just about 7 years. That's a while, though.
Holy crap. Now,
We look the same, right?
Yeah, we all look the same, just a lot more gray. I've added like an extra 10 pounds. You look the same, as always. But take a look at this picture. I don't know if you can see this. I dug this one out of the archives this morning. Look at this. This is when we were young and happy. On the old curvy couch, there's Bill Pullman. Is that Bill Paxton? And who is that? That's Kevin Costner. Yeah, Kevin Costner and a young Dave Briggs, Allison Camerata, and me there on the end of the curvy couch years ago. So, yeah. So then you left. You're over at CNN. You had your own sports show, and now we're in this crazy time, this crazy pandemic. So, first of all, how have you been? What have you been doing to pass the time as a sports guy? I mean, didn't ESPN basically collapse? Like they're running reruns of stuff. Like, what are you doing for sports right now?
Yeah, it's been really difficult for me and for millions of Americans. So I left actually CNN at the end of the year and had the incredible opportunity to get a job with Turner Sports, being a part of my first ever NCAA tournament, which was the job of a lifetime, the opportunity of a lifetime for me. And then this pandemic came and I kept watching what was happening with sports and just holding on for dear life that they would let the tournament, the NCAA basketball tournament, play out. They, of course, canceled it, crushing my hopes and dreams and putting my career on hold. So, yeah, I had a podcast as well that was sports-based, which was canceled. So it has been very, very difficult for me and for millions of Americans. And just to have the distraction alone, not just professionally to not be working, but just to have the distraction of baseball, of basketball, of hockey. We have seen it slowly come back. There was actually a real golf tournament last weekend in Fort Worth with a full field. I mean, Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth, Patrick Reed, Dustin Johnson, you name it. So that was the first real field of tournaments. Of course, no fans, social distancing guidelines. And NASCAR has been back for a couple of weeks, no fans. I don't think NASCAR is all that different. You're not an auto racing fan, so you probably missed those races. I don't think it's all that different from the way it was before.
It's weird. I mean, I've definitely watched football, European football, and whatever else we could get our hands on, and to watch those matches. At least you have their teammates cheering on the sideline, but the roar of that crowd. To watch a Barcelona game or English Premier League or any one of those games, and the crowd just going crazy the whole time. There's just a roar through the stadium, and now it's just like this echo, this hollow, and it just feels so weird.
Yeah, at that golf tournament, in fact, there was a hole-in-one on day 2, and I don't think the guy realized he sank it because there was no crowd reaction. It was just like a couple of dudes playing on the local municipal golf course. But we're not going to see stadiums packed full of fans anytime soon, not in 2020, maybe in early 2021. There have been those who have floated proposals for college football and the NFL to have, let's say, somewhere between 15 and 50% capacity. The state of Texas is pushing for that. But I think the big story when you look at the sports landscape right now is Major League Baseball, because the NFL will find a way to come back. The NBA looks like they're in pretty good shape, and we'll get to that in a minute. The NHL, Major League Baseball, which I know is a game you love. You are a dedicated Philadelphia Phillies fan. Major League Baseball looks right now like they may not play at all. One week ago, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, said 100% guarantees that they would have a season. Then 2 nights ago on ESPN, Manfred told Mike Greenberg he's not confident there will be a season. And then last night, reports trickling out that 6 to 8 owners at this point are in favor of just scrapping the season altogether. If they lose 8, that's not enough to vote to confirm a season. So the two sides, there is animosity, there is bad faith negotiating tactics through the media. They are at the edge of the Grand Canyon staring at one another, not realizing that they're both about to fall off that cliff together, because it doesn't look like there's a season right now.
Wow.
And Major League Baseball will never recover from that if that's the case.
Well, we saw how long it took them to recover. What was it, 20 years ago when they had that huge mess? We wondered if baseball would ever recover. Yeah. It slowly came back. I just think the pace of that game doesn't keep up with what we see in the NFL and NBA, and just right. It's hard to maybe attract those young fans. But what is keeping them from this season? What can't they figure out that could get them to the table and get this season at least halfway played?
It's very strange, right? Because all these leagues have financial details to be worked out, but there's only one that's having a problem. Only Major League Baseball. You're not hearing anything about that with the NBA, the NHL, NASCAR, golf, the NFL. It is all about money right now, and the optics are a disaster. You've got billionaires fighting with millionaires over millions of dollars, and in the end, that 94 strike hurt baseball. Some feel like it was a decade. It took at least 5 or 6 years to get back to normalcy. And right now, I don't think it ever would get back to the point that it last left off, because if you have young fans lose an entire season when they are already slipping away from the sport, I'm not sure they'd ever come back. What is in the way? It's just money, because the players are saying, we already agreed to pay cuts. We already agreed to prorated salaries based on how many games we're going to play. And then the owners have continued to move the goalposts. Now, the owners have a point in saying, we were factoring in full baseball stadiums when we offered you prorated salaries, not empty stadiums that they will apparently have now. I've been told they'll lose $400,000 per game with no fans in the stadium. So they're saying we need further giving more money back. The players need to give more money back. And there's no negotiation right now. Rob Manfred is not even talking with the players union. It's been more than a week. They're angry. They're mad. The players want to see the owners' books. The owners will not show them their books. Again, it just doesn't look like we are headed towards a baseball season. There was hope that they could play 75 games, then 50. And now I think even if you play 40 to 45 games, it'd be a miracle. On top of that, Dr. Anthony Fauci said yesterday he really doesn't think baseball should play well into October because of that risk of a second COVID wave. He thinks it's best if they can wrap it up before then. So they've got COVID issues, but that's not what's really hurting the dialogue between them. It is all about money. And if you want to blame anyone, you have to blame both sides. Although I would understand if you say these owners are billionaires, they can get this season resumed somehow, some way, but they are refusing to budge right now, bro.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You think about these different leagues right now and who would benefit from coming back. We think people in the chat room saying like, well, we're obviously mostly concerned about the stimulus and getting money in the pockets, but think about how many employees work at those stadiums. You think about, you go to a Phillies game, you're getting a cheesesteak. I saw a local report in Philadelphia, a woman, she's like, I've been cutting these cheesesteaks, making cheesesteaks here at the stadium at Citizens Bank Park for 20 years. And now I don't know what I'm going to do. And so there, all of these jobs that it employs, it's not just about the game, right? It's so much bigger than that.
Much bigger than that. You've got hundreds of employees in the stadium, and then you've got thousands outside the stadium, and they're entirely reliant on baseball games. So you look at all the bars and the restaurants and
Great
the
point.
transportation and the parking. I mean, it expands. It is a web of thousands, and then you have to expand on that. We forget about minor league baseball. There are minor league baseball players that aren't being paid right now. Some have been essentially let go. Minor league baseball is really a strong part of the economy in hundreds of cities across the country, smaller towns that don't have big industry. So minor league baseball, as that web continues to expand across the country, no baseball is harming just about every corner of the American economy. And it's also hurt just from a sense of spirit. I mean, people need something to rally around, something positive, something to distract from. So it's really, really devastating for a baseball fan to be staring at these owners and these players fighting over millions of dollars and not just finding some sort of middle ground. Because when you look at the NBA, it looks like, no doubt about it, they are going to have basketball probably by late July. Now, they've got two issues there as well. They've got the social unrest, the racial unrest that is sweeping the country. That's one problem they're going to have to deal with. And then they've got to deal with COVID. But their plan looks really interesting. Late July, they'll be down in Disney World. They're going to have 22 teams going to play a modified postseason and go play an NBA Finals by mid-October. Very cool system they've got set up. They're kind of in a bubble down in Disney World, 3 hotels, essentially quarantined with their teams, with some fans, some sponsors, and some media. But Commissioner Adam Silver just has a better rapport with the players. And if you want to blame someone right now with baseball, it's that Commissioner Rob Manfred doesn't seem to have any rapport with the stars of that league, where Adam Silver really has the pulse of the league. And again, there are some guys that think they shouldn't play because of the protests related to George Floyd. They say they're going to distract people from their cause if they in fact play basketball. I have to say they are 100% wrong on that one. They need to play to get more attention to their cause of systemic racism, because if they're able to, let's just say, take a knee or wear a t-shirt that says "I can't breathe" before a broadcast that has 10, 20 million people watching, they're going to do a lot more for their cause playing than they would somehow sitting out and just marching and protest and tweeting and going on Instagram. So They're definitely going to work it out. There may be a couple of guys that say they won't play, but the NBA will eventually play a truncated season, hand an NBA champion by mid-October. The crazy thing there is they'd turn around and have training camp the very next month and start the season in December. We're talking about the 2021 season. So
wow.
NBA Finals mid-October, training camp the next month, and start another season 1 month after that. So we're going to see the impacts of this years down the road.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about October. You think about October baseball. You think about maybe hockey starting right around then. You think of football in high gear. You'd have like every sport playing simultaneously, which is, right? That doesn't normally happen in that way. But what did I ask you about? Well, so you mentioned the systemic racism. Of course, Colin Kaepernick making headlines again, and whether or not what's going to happen in the NFL. You know, what's going to happen with the NFL? Is there going to be a season? And President Trump said, "I want everyone in the stands. You know, I want to see everyone back at games," and that's creeping up on us here at the end of August, right? I mean, now we've got even an extended season. It's more games in the season, so it's even a longer season. What do you think? What are your sources telling you in the football world? Are we going to see packed stadiums for the NFL? Where will Colin Kaepernick be playing, if at all? Will he be going to the Seattle Seahawks?
Let's start with Colin Kaepernick. Look, I don't think he gets signed, and it's just because of the reality of the market right now. When you look at Cam Newton, he was an MVP as recent as 2015. He was the MVP in this league when released by the Panthers. He still has no job. Cam Newton, former MVP, still has no job. Jameis Winston, who was the Buccaneers quarterback last year, threw for 5,000 yards. Yeah, 30-plus interceptions, but 5,000 yards and more than 30 touchdowns. He got a 1-year contract as a backup quarterback. So the quarterback market just doesn't really support Colin Kaepernick right now, a guy who's been out of the league 3+ full seasons. And people wonder how his skills have diminished. And then on top of that, how many owners say, we want that kind of distraction? NFL owners hate distractions more than anything else on the planet, and they will do just about anything to avoid them unless it appears that Colin Kaepernick could somehow take them to the promised land and be a Pro Bowl quarterback. But at this point, there's no indication that that's the case. So I don't think he gets signed. You'd have to find me one situation where the owner is very progressive, the coach is very progressive, and most importantly, the fan base is very progressive. So you'd need, a market like Philadelphia. Now they're loaded with quarterbacks, so that's not going to happen. But trying to think of an ownership group and a fan base that are equally progressive, where it'd be a PR win to have Kaepernick on your team, and where you really want to try to move some jerseys. I just don't see it happening given the quarterback market.
Yeah.
When you move to the COVID concerns, it's kind of amazing that we haven't heard a lot about it. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, has said as recently as a few weeks ago that he could see 50% capacity stadiums. Now, the NFL and college football have both pushed back on that. They don't think it's a real great idea to have 50% capacity in these stadiums, but that's what he'd like to see. The state of Florida has laid out a plan for Dolphins, Buccaneers stadiums where they'd have, I think it's around a quarter capacity. Let me just tell you, we're going to have a full NFL season. I do believe that. Too much money at stake. I do not think fans will be there until at least late November, more likely December, once we see what happens in terms of a second wave. I just can't imagine that anyone's going to take that risk. But look again, I mean, the president's going to hold a
Trump rally.
June 20th.
Look at the Trump rally in Oklahoma this weekend. I mean, you have to go to the Trump website and register and sign a waiver saying that if you come to this event, you can't sue the Trump campaign if you get COVID when you come here. Maybe the NFL could do something like that. Have you signed waivers to go to an Eagles game that if you come to an Eagles game, you can't sue the Eagles if you get COVID?
I think that absolutely will be the case. I think no matter when you see fans, you're going to have to either sign a waiver or they'll just place it right on the back of the ticket, which a lot of teams do sneak in liability clauses right on the ticket. As a ticket holder, you inherit some percentage of risk like you do at a baseball game by getting hit by a foul ball and things of that nature. Hockey, where you could take a puck. I do think that would absolutely be a part of the equation for fans, just assuming some portion of risk. I think that Trump rally is really a testing ground, because if it appears to be some type of super spreader event, you're going to shut down fans altogether for the NHL and college football, because numbers are spiking in Texas, in Arkansas, even portions of Oklahoma near Tulsa. So that's a little scary that they're doing that. I wish they would try social distancing. But the next thing to look out for, Clayton, and people don't, again, talk a lot about auto racing. The Indy 500 is the biggest race in all of racing. That is not NASCAR. That is the Indy cars. Roger Penske bought Indianapolis Motor Speedway just in the past year, and they are going forward. They say full speed ahead, packed stadium. That's late August.
Wow.
August 23rd. So you could be talking about 100,000 fans at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Are they going to be wearing masks? They will obviously not be social distance. But if that works, then maybe we'll see packed stadiums in the fall. If it doesn't, that is a scary precedent down the road.
Well, even in Jacksonville, we have a test case ahead of time with the RNC, not too far from now as well. And if they're going to put those cruise ships in the canal in Jacksonville once again, like they did during the Super Bowl 15 years ago, because they don't have enough hotel space, you're going to have cruise ships filled with RNC senior citizens. That's going to be an interesting test case. We got a super chat here in the chat. Mario said, do you think sports tickets will skyrocket? Do you think that that's an inevitability, that we're going to have the ticket prices are going to go through the roof to make up for that lost revenue, or stay the same?
Absolutely not. I think that, I mean, look, every team would love to raise their ticket prices, and if ever they're given the opportunity, they will do it. Every team that wins a Super Bowl or World Series or an NBA Finals or a Stanley Cup tend to raise prices just a little bit that next season. I don't think the demand will be there. It's just a simple supply and demand equation. I just don't think, I can't think of anybody outside Boston, Chicago, maybe St. Louis. There might be 2 or 3 markets passionate enough right now that could afford to raise their ticket prices where the demand is still there. I think you've still got 30 plus million unemployed Americans. These $600 stimulus checks are going to be turned off. I do not by any means think there will be that type of demand to pack stadiums. In fact, I think we're going to have real trouble down the road because how many people will forever change their attitudes. I mean, for example, all my friends, I live in a town in Connecticut where restaurants are open, and my friends just aren't going. They just feel like they adjusted their life to the point where they have friends over to the patio. I think people have made permanent changes in their life. I don't think you'll see the demand to go to sporting events in person in the future. Again, 2 or 3, maybe 5 cities that have it, but NFL stadiums are already in trouble. You just mentioned Jacksonville. You ever turned on a Jacksonville Jaguars game and seen maybe 60% capacity? So,
right.
I think they're going to really struggle to fill stadiums in the next couple of years, especially when they're the NBA and the NHL and they're indoor facilities.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people saying, well, what's important right now? Obviously, family and being able to put food on our table is important. Sports is a fabric of our society, just like being able to interact with other human beings is a fabric of our society. So all of this is tied together. You can always judge a civilization by how they entertain themselves, going back to Roman times. And so we choose to entertain ourselves in America by the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball and others. And frankly, the WWE, So I think we're in for a big change. It's going to be interesting to see over the next few weeks and into the NFL season what this all looks like. But more importantly, man, it's just been great to see you. My longtime friend, Dave Briggs, who we cut our teeth together years ago in Midtown Manhattan as news anchors together. And I said, I want to have Dave on. I'd love to be able to talk about the state of sports, but more importantly, just to catch up, say hi, and see how you're doing, my friend. So it's been a real treat having you here on the show. So thanks so much for popping in and educating us about the world of sports right now.
It's been great to see you. Someone chimes in and says the Packers, Steven says the Packers have a 25-year waiting list. Steven, I absolutely should have included the Packers in that list. Green Bay is one of those cities that they would be able to raise ticket prices, and probably the Bucks too, given that Giannis is around. So again, probably somewhere in 5 to 6 cities around the country that could afford to do it. But it's great to see you, man. And I'm impressed. I got to say, I am blown away by the quality of your show here on YouTube. I mean, I think the games have changed. Your show looks better than a lot of the national, Today's Show, GMA looks every bit as good, bro. So it is impressive, man. I'm blown away.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. And it's always great. It elevates the game when you have a true professional on the show like yourself as well. Someone that understands the cut of the jib in the broadcasting world. So awesome to have you, man. We'll have you back on here in the next few months as we look at the NFL season, and just to be able to catch up on sports then as we see how the summer unfolds.
Talk politics too.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
I love to talk politics.
Well, let's do it as we head into the conventions. We'll have you on because he's a keen mind for politics as well. And I know that very well from anchoring with you for many years. So give my best to the family, my friend. Great to see you. And thanks for joining us on the show, buddy.
Tell Natalie and the kids hello.
I will. Thanks, man. That's my friend Dave Briggs, brilliant sports anchor and brilliant in the world of politics as well, and longtime friend and anchor. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun having Dave on. I was real, I want to try to mix things up and try some different things here on the show. Tomorrow, please make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow here on the show, we've got a big show. We've got our cryptocurrency show. This is going to be an education for me. It's going to be an education for you. We've got Anthony Pompliano on the show tomorrow, and we're going to be deep diving the world of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency in general, the people's currency. Look, I like to say there's 3 different types of currencies, right? There's government currency, which is fiat currency, that always has collapsed in world history. What do you think's happening right now to the US dollar? Then you have God's money, right? That's real estate, gold and silver. Stuff that you cannot remove from this earth. Land, gold, silver. And then the third thing is the people's currency, which emerged in 2009. And cryptocurrency, this, no state has control of it. The people have control of it. We know exactly how much is being created at any given time. And it's become one of the most powerful ways that we now have to invest. So we're going to deep dive cryptocurrency in an area that I'm becoming increasingly passionate about. So we'll have that here on the show tomorrow. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel and be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. We will do our normal show and then open it up to Anthony, where we will deep dive questions about cryptocurrency. So my thanks to all of you. You guys are great. Thank you for all of your great feedback today on the show. Much love to all of you. We'll see you again tomorrow.